So I've been thinking about time I will never get back again, watching Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. So I have a few arguments against the show and a few for the show. I love the idea of making it into a musical. I love musicals, and I think some of the actors and actresses there are extremely talented. However, the songs were sometimes they reminded me too much of the kind of songs I just hum along a tune and I think, okay, record, it's a great song. And it turns out that it lacks rhythm and whatever it takes to be a really great song. Okay, so second argument, mental illness. If you want to kill yourself, you're going to find yourself very much alone. If you thought you were alone before the suicide attempt, you're going to be even more alone after the suicide attempt. Because mental illness doesn't make people want to come. There's no saying mental illness makes the hearts grow fonder. It actually makes people scared. The only people that are attracted to mentally ill people are, sorry to say men, but it's true, men that want to take advantage of crazy women because borderlines are supposed to be really easy to take advantage of. You just buy them a drink and that's it. So a lot of men are attracted to crazy women because they find them pretty easy to have sex with. So that they didn't show in the show. For some reason, all these men wanted to have relationships with Rebecca. Well, not at first, maybe, but eventually. And you know what? My life experience, and this is the third argument, when a man doesn't want to have a relationship with you from the beginning, he's not going to change after he's known you, and definitely not going to get closer to you after discovering that you're officially mentally ill, diagnosed, and taking medication. So this is unrealistic. So don't try to tell people, oh, you can be whoever you are, and mental illness is really nice. It's not nice. It's horrific, and it makes people very lonely and isolated. Labeling, being labeled, being diagnosed doesn't make people want to be closer to you. So this show maybe opened up the talk about mental illness, but it didn't really present the illness this woman had in a good way, because all the things she underwent, she always had friends. And this is something I have a bone to pick with. Every American show you can see has two elements: friends that will last you forever and ever and ever, and you have that will stand by you no matter what. And sorry, but that's called dogs. It's not called people. And the other thing they have is they always have sex. Lots and lots and lots of sex. I know there's a certain stage of life where sex is really important for people, but let's say between the age of 12, 13 till 30. But you know what? It was way too much talk about sex constantly. And I really think people talk more about money than sex, at least in Israel. And I think in the US it's no different because you need money, but you don't really need sex. So people here talk a lot about money. And that I didn't see. I didn't see people talking about how to make a living. I didn't see them being worried about how to make a living. It's very, very unrealistic. And if you really want to feel alone and isolated, act crazy. And what this show does is people are attracted to her despite her acting crazy. And the other thing is, when a woman looks the way she looks, Rebecca, like frumpy, it doesn't attract men. And it's not realistic that three men are in love with her. And it's not realistic that no matter what she does, they're still in love with her. And it's not realistic that any law firm is a place where you will meet people who really want to be your friends. And it's not realistic that she doesn't prepare, she doesn't do anything else, and the genius brain, she knows exactly what to do on the case. Lawyers work their asses off, they put in a lot of hours, and this you didn't really see. And the other thing is, it's just unrealistic the way the friendships, like very young women don't want to be friends with older women. And the whole loyalty thing, how everybody's loyal there and they stick by her no matter what, it's not realistic. The theater part was realistic. In theater, it's really cutthroat and people will take you off a show if you're for if you disobey or if you go against them for any reason. I didn't understand how she could keep an apartment, how she could afford to be so generous when she worked so little. And with the mother scene as well, the mother was horrible. I don't understand why she even wanted to keep in touch with somebody who was clearly responsible for all her pain and suffering. Maybe that is realistic, though. It's just very difficult to see that. And so this is the bone I have to pick with Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. At some points, it's very entertaining. But other points, like the mental illness thing, even the period song, I'm really glad people are talking about sexuality in an open way. But I didn't understand why they think it's so great, because actually having sex during your period is not a good time because you can get diseases. The body is more vulnerable to getting all sorts of diseases and etc., etc. And it's also very discomfort. It's really uncomfortable for women. So why would you make a song glorifying it just to shock people? It's the Amy Schumer effect. Like the more you talk about sex and shock people, and so there's no more shocking things to do. So sex during your period is the next frontier or what? So let's talk about, they talk a lot about bathroom. It's a sort of humor when I studied theater that was very common in the Roman time. The Roman theater used a lot of, it's called very low humor, like bathroom references, etc., because it seemed very funny. So I don't find it funny. And the last thing is that TV series nowadays all have LGBT. If you don't have LGBT, at least one character that's LGBT, you can't have a show. So with all respect to the LGBT, I don't understand why LGBT is a community, because I really don't understand the connection between L, G, B, and T, because for me it's completely different worlds. But no matter, why do you have to have always a character being LGBT? That's what I'm wondering. Why? It's 10% of the population. Why do we always have to show them? What about showing more African Americans? There were very few African American characters on that show, by the way. And I was really wondering why. And so here in Israel, we also have very stupid shows. But we don't have that much talk about sex as in American shows. And I think we do need to talk about mental illness more, because it's the way people didn't talk about death. We should talk about mental illnesses, mental disorders, but we should do it in an intelligent way. And we shouldn't make people think that if they try to kill themselves, they're going to wake up to a room full of friends. I seriously doubt they will. I think that people commit suicide because they feel lonely and isolated. And though sometimes that is not the reality is that they might have people around them, but they just don't feel close to them. After having committed suicide, people are not coming in like, oh, let's embrace them and give them lots of love. Because if you think about how lonely they felt before, afterwards you're not going to feel happier. So be realistic about depicting that. And it's just the whole show, the way she can just recuperate from every situation, just jump back, the way all is forgiven after you stalk somebody, kidnap his mother. Sorry if it's a spoiler alert to those who haven't seen it and want to see it. She kidnaps the ex-boyfriend's mother, and he almost pushes her into a ditch, and then they end up living together. Let me tell you how reality works. When you break up with a man after you have a relationship that is basically physical, he's not going to want to be in touch with you anymore. It's just the way males work. And living together is definitely not an option. Speaking on the phone is not even an option. And usually they have partners that are very controlling and don't want the ex-girlfriend to be involved. So I don't know why Americans insist this is such a great show. I felt slightly entertained because the actors were funny. I liked Rebecca definitely, but she sometimes irritated me because everybody fell in love with her. How do you go from being an unpopular girl in school to being pursued by three very cute, successful men? Usually it doesn't work like that. When you're a wallflower in school, you're not going to be suddenly like a huge success story in your adult life. There's a reason why you were a wallflower, and you will not do big changes. If people didn't like you when you were in high school, you're not gonna be like this popular adult. It just doesn't work like that unless maybe you emigrate to a society where people are extremely introverted and they love your type. So I think Rebecca should have gotten a dog or a cat, and I wonder why there's no dog and cat in the script. Maybe it's because training a dog is complicated and costly. So I didn't see the end. I don't know why. I had a problem with Netflix, and just when I got to the end of the fourth season, I missed it when she couldn't decide between three guys. I remember, I can relate to that. I had a situation where I was dating two men at the same time, and somebody told me, when you date two men at the same, it happened to me more than once. When you date two men, when you can't decide between two men, both choices are wrong, and that turned out to be the truth. So I remember I was in love or infatuated with two men, one more than the other. One was the unrealistic choice, the other was more realistic. And at the end, both of them, we broke up. So that's the reality. I think men and women can be friends, but when you get into a physical relationship, it's not going to end up nice. After you are in a physical relationship, it's very hard to go back to being friends. That's my impression. I think running a pretzel shop is much more demanding than working as a lawyer in a law firm, even. And it wasn't depicted realistically. And as for the Jews in the TV series, they're all very wealthy. They're all doing well. Maybe that's the reality in the U.S. But really, do we really have to have these stereotypes? Yeah, it's all stereotypes. Are they lonely Filipinos? Are they all in communities? Are they no Jews that are not wealthy? Um, yeah, are they no gay women that don't have short hair? Aren't they gay women with long hair? It's just the way they always depict gay women is just so like they all look like Ellen DeGeneres. So it was a stupid show. I kept seeing that she's really trying hard, this Rachel Bloom, to make it better and better, but she has to understand mental illness is not something that makes people come closer to you. And in that TV series, it does. And it does a disservice because afterwards I felt very frustrating. I thought, well, I'm not very popular to say the least, and I'm never going to be popular because I'm just not a popular person. A person that's like a kick-ass ass kicker, a nonconformist is not going to be popular. A person who always says the truth is not going to be, or at least what they perceive as the truth, is not going to be popular. So it's completely false depiction. And there were a few moments where I chuckled. I didn't laugh out loud, but mostly I didn't know if it was a comedy or tragedy. I have a degree in the history of theater, and it didn't find. I couldn't place it. I didn't know if it was a comedy, a tragedy, a drama. It was a mix, and it was none. It had some elements of comedy, some elements of tragedy, but really none of them. It was sort of like parve. It was like not nicht here, nicht da. It was not here, not there. I couldn't say that it was a good show. I can't say at the moment that I got something out of that show besides having looked up to see if I'm borderline. I've known borderline personality disorder. I had one former friend. She was classical. She didn't try to kill herself, but she had severe mood swings. She drank a lot, so you didn't know if it was the alcohol or the mood swings, and she would go from being friendly to accusing you of being a horrible friend. It's impossible to be friends with somebody like that, and I can't imagine men being attracted to somebody with a personality disorder, border personality disorder, unless they're looking for a hookup, which is they're the easiest women in the market, the meat market. But having said that, that woman was constantly falling from one disappointment to another. She didn't have friends. She didn't have partners. Needless to say, the chances of her getting married are like zilch. When I met her, she was like in her 40s. She had a good job. I don't know how she kept her job. She was extremely nervous and extremely unattractive to be around. I looked up to see if I'm borderline because my ex-husband claimed that I was, and I definitely am not. I don't have the mood swings. I don't have, I do get very dramatic at times, but that's not mood swings. I don't go from up and down. I'm mostly like up because I'm ADDH. Um, yeah, so I looked myself up and I found out I definitely don't have it. Also, I don't try to kill myself. I don't have any of the symptoms, so I'm happy I don't have it. I'm happy they talked about it. I'm happy that they talked about the need to take medication. I thought the therapist was just like bullshitting. I think therapists should be open from if your patient or client says I want medication, you should be open to giving them at least an anti-anxiety pill. And had she given her anti-anxiety pills, or had she really thought about all the pills she was given, she wouldn't have gone to an attempted suicide or a suicide attempt. Sorry, my English is getting worse the less I use it. So it's slightly entertaining. I watched on YouTube how they had this reunion, and I feel like I really like the actors. I really liked them. I liked especially the guy who played the head of the office. What was his name? With the mustache, who had a baby. He was a likable character, but it's a dumb American show. If it's made in the US, it's usually dumb, stupid, has a lot of sex, is not informative, and shows you a distorted view of the world. I think that's why Americans are not really liked around the world, is because they show a distorted view of the world. They take fairy tales and make them, try to present them as reality. And that's the problem. We all love to have fairy tales as our reality. We all love to believe there's a prince waiting or a princess. But in reality, it's not like that. In reality, people don't love you if you're sick or mentally ill. So America, you do have other films, intelligent, independent films. I'd like to see more of those. Until then, I'll watch lots of documentaries about people being trapped into cults, because that you're good at. America's very good in cults and documenting people who have been hurt by cults, especially yoga/religious cults. So that's my recommendation for people on Netflix. Try to watch documentaries, except Tiger. The Tiger thing is horrible. It seems like they try everything on TV. They put in the show. By the way, the Tiger show was the worst ever. I mean, animal abuse is not funny, and the character is like horrible. All of them. Maybe it's something we should be aware of, but I don't know what to do with that information. It just makes me sad. It's like when people flood me with videos about animals being abused. What am I supposed to do? It just makes me really angry, even vicious. I can really hit somebody after I see one of those videos of animal abuse. But it doesn't help unless we get organized and have petitions signed or give abused animals a home. We really should just not encourage posting these videos. It just seems to me a type of porn, animal abuse porn. And also mental illness becomes a sort of porn. Mental illness porn. But just so we are clear on it, mental illness doesn't make the heart grow fonder. So stop making it look like that, because if you're suffering from mental distress, just know it. Sharing and telling people around you, especially in the workplace, is the worst choice. If you tell people you have a problem, mental illness, or any sort of problem, people will use it against you. And I'm not talking about Israel or the US. It's just a human tendency to run away from people that have problems, and to not trust or to not be close to people like that. People are afraid that you need them. People don't want to be needed. They want people they can use, they can depend on. Get a dog and shut up if you have a mental problem, and get therapy and medication if needed, but only after you are sure that that's what you need. And you know what? If you live next to an ocean, I thought it would have been the best. She was in California. I didn't see her one time on the beach. Go in the water, swim, surf, do sports, dance. The yoga could have been a good therapy for her. Why didn't she pursue yoga? That's the big question I'm leaving for you to think about. So until then, I think most American TV shows are just not good for your psyche. They distort the reality. They make you think that being open and talking about things makes life better. Yes, to a therapist, no to coworkers or people that you go to school with or live with. So peace, light, and love, and have a wonderful closure time. If you're in a country where they have closure, enjoy it. Enjoy the isolation, and enjoy breaking the rules every now and then. I just broke a rule. I've been hounded by these loudspeakers telling me not to go to the beach. They even tell people that go in the water and not swim, not to swim. Break those rules. Yeah, I've heard that people got fines, but you know what? If we live in fear, that's the worst thing. There's nothing to fear but fear itself. And there's no reason why a person shouldn't go in the water when there's coronavirus. None whatsoever. So peace, light, and love from what used to be called the Holy Land. Yes, Jesus was here, but not maybe on this beach particularly. Maybe yes, maybe not, probably not. And try to be happy, people. Try not to be addicted. Don't do binging. You know what? It's better to have a pretzel binge than to have even an ice cream binge. There's sugarless ice cream. Than to have a Netflix binge on American TV shows, which are not clear whether it's comedy or drama or what. Yeah, what I did like is that show with Christina Applegate, is that her name? Um, Dead to Me. This I want to watch, but unfortunately, I was like, I was in a hurry and to get someplace, and I didn't want to get addicted, so I read up. You can just Google all the plots, so I know what's going to happen. So it took away my motivation of watching the show, but I thought it was very, very good drama. I don't know why it's in the category of comedy. That's also, I don't get it. People die there. It's not funny. When you hit somebody with a car, how can that be funny in any way? It shows the struggle of a woman alone. It shows how secrets come out. And that made me feel good because she was mourning her husband. Turns out he was a creep who cheated on her. That's reality. That's reality. So Dead to Me, I think, is a show that I might pursue. Could be. But as I said again, binge watching is not good for your mental health. This is good for your mental health. Biking, swimming, even going in the ocean, walking your dog, doing something for someone is always good. Isn't it nice to be nice and clean, Shoshana? Yeah. And you know what? I have a feeling that my cat really doesn't like me watching Netflix. He tries to eat the wires constantly. So, I'm always afraid he's going to succeed. So anyway, Yom Kippur is coming up. So for those of you who practice this, one day of not eating and drinking is not going to kill you. And if you want to do it, do it. But whether God writes you down in a book of good, like if you're doing good, he's going to write you down. It sounds to me too much like Santa Claus. So I don't know if I buy that. Yom Kippur was always to me a very good day of being alone, but now every day seems like Yom Kippur here in Tel Aviv. You know, all slowly shops are shutting down, and it makes you feel like scared if you're a city person to see all of a sudden all the shops are closing down, the world around you is closing down, and right now it's Friday afternoon. I think I didn't listen to the news, but I think they're closed down like everything. I hope not food places because I didn't buy all the food yet. We have food for the dogs, so I might be forced to eat dog food. But, I can just go fishing, catch fish. I don't know. It's nice to see the surfers are really, I've never seen so many surfers in my life. I guess the surfers are really surfing. So good for them. And a show about California, going back to Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, should really show surfing. Anyway, I think there was one episode where they showed the sea, the ocean. One. I'm really glad that I have the ocean nearby. It gives me a feeling of empowerment that nothing else does. So I'm going to sign off. Peace, light, and love. Happy, not happy. You can't say happy Yom Kippur, by the way. You can't say happy holidays. So have a good Yom Kippur. And I'm signing off from your dog beach, Tel Aviv Dog Beach.